morning, welcome. Thank you for being here to talk about the importance of trade for New York farmers. The U.S. has had a trade surplus in agriculture. Trade is successful because the agreements that have been negotiated over the years. However, trade war has greatly disrupted our farm markets in recent months and in turn our livelihoods and prosperity of our local farms. Commodity prices fallen on farm products. Equipment prices are rising due to the steel and aluminum tariffs. I recently purchased a trailer for our farm and was told I didn't take that offer, that within a week the price was going up 5%. So we are concerned about losing long-established markets in countries like China and Mexico and Canada and the European Union, as they might turn to cheaper sources for their food with tariffs. Today you will hear from a group of diverse farmers and organizations who all have similar concerns. I myself am a dairy farmer. My family farms in St. Lawrence County. It's well known that the dairy economy is struggling into the fourth year of low milk prices. In fact, the farm economy as a whole has not been a bright spot for this country. Net farm income is already down about 50% before the trade wars began. Times are tough. This is when the country needs to be looking for new opportunities to expand our markets, to sell the quality products we have. It's well known around the world that America has the safest, most affordable food supply in the world. They all want access to it. We just have to try to reassure that they will have it. This isn't just a loss of international markets that New York farmers are concerned about. We could see a disruption in the domestic markets also. One example is Washington exports apples to Mexico, and those are down about 40% year over year. The concern is if those apples don't go south, they likely will go east. And New York is a very prominent apple producing state, so we're very concerned about what's to come for our apple farmers. We understand trade agreements may need to be updated, but we have to be careful not to damage the relationships that we've already have and depend on. We're encouraging our leaders in Washington to move quickly, getting parties back together and to the negotiating table. Like we've heard about this week with Mexico, I look forward to what might be worked out with our neighbor to the north in Canada. The farm economy, which is already hurting, cannot withstand a prolonged trade war, potentially losing markets that we've spent years opening up. At this time, I'd like to recognize a couple of people and thank Assemblywoman Carrie Warner for being here with us. And also, I'd like to introduce a friend, farmer, Farm Bureau member, and our Commissioner of Agriculture, New York State Commissioner of Agriculture, Richard Ball.
Thank you so much, David. Appreciate the introduction. Appreciate all of you being here today to talk about this important issue. So thank you for having me and inviting me. And it's so important that we bring attention to this critical issue because it's impacting all our farmers at a time when the industry is already being impacted by so many other challenges, from rising production costs to the weather and unpredictable conditions like that. New York State is a leader in agriculture. We rank in the top 10 of dozens of commodities we figure in every national conversation that we have about agriculture across the country. Commodities like dairy, maple, corn, soybean. People that represent those commodities are standing here with us today. We have long relied on positive trade relationships, in particular with our two largest trade partners, Canada and Mexico, to support our agricultural economy. Both these countries are vital to both New York State and the United States. 48% of what we produce in New York State actually is exported. And I know a great deal of attention is being paid to China, which is rightly so. But our trade with Canada and Mexico dwarfs the amount of trade that we do in agriculture with China. So both these countries are vital markets for New York State. About 25% of fresh apple exports go to Mexico. Nearly a third of the total U.S. apple crop is actually exported. And New York alone exports 17% of our milk to Mexico. The National Milk Producers Federation estimates that across the country, the retaliatory tariffs with Mexico are costing dairy producers $1.8 billion. So with New York State representing nearly 7% of the dairy exports in the country's milk production, New York State dairy farmers are realizing a $125 million challenge. So we have a very real interest, we have a very real concern. Once these markets are lost, we find ourselves in a place where our consumers may go elsewhere. Agricultural business is very much a relationship business. There are businesses that are very transactional, but agriculture is one that cares very much about consistent quality and one that is built on reliable relationships. So we need to have long-term relationships. We need long-term solutions here. So we need to stand taller. You know, today we have an opportunity here as well. I don't want to underestimate that, to collaborate with our partners, to engage in new free trade agreements and call for thoughtful long-term solutions. So as we move forward, we need these long-term solutions to ensure that farmers have the certainty with their existing markets and have the ability to grow their businesses by being able to access new markets. The world is watching. The whole world is watching, but they are not waiting because they're anxious to take in, fill the gap that we may believe in. So we have a chance here to realign ourselves, to collaborate,
and
and find
Ayrshire
good
Youth
answers for the long
Exhibitors.
term. So thanks so much
If
for
you
the
place
opportunity
in
to
the
be
top
with you.
3 with a blue ribbon in your show today, top 3 blue ribbon, and you are not already entered into open class, you may come here and do so now. You will need your registration sheet and $6.
Good morning.
So if you are not
My name
already
is Colleen
entered into
Klein,
open,
and I'm the
you're
Executive
the top
Director
3
of
with
the
blue
New York
ribbon.
Corn and Soybean
If you would
Growers
like to show in the
Association.
open class,
Our
please
organization
stop by the
handles
office.
the
Thank you.
advocacy of our corn and soybean grower membership body, as well as administers the research, promotion, and education projects which benefit all soybean farmers across the state who pay into the soybean checkoff. Our members are fortunate to be represented nationally by both the American Soybean Association and the National Corn Growers Association, two organizations who have worked tirelessly on our members' behalf, navigating the waters of these recent trade issues. Economic analysis provided by NCGA points to a 44-cent per bushel depressed corn price for 2018 due to current trade negotiations. That translates to more than a $35 million projected loss for New York farmers on grain corn alone. Concurrently, ASA reports reflect a nearly $2 drop in price per bushel of soybeans, which adds another $24 million deficit to New York growers, with many analysts estimating an even further decline in coming months. Exports are critical to our producers, especially as soybeans are the U.S.'s largest agricultural export, with 1 out of every 3rd row planted making its way to China. This makes agricultural exports responsible for 33% of U.S. corn and soybean farmers' income. In 2016, the USDA Economic Research Service estimated that New York exported almost $150 million worth of corn, soybean, and soy meal, holding this calculation slightly higher for our New York farmers at 36% of their income. One thing is for sure, export markets are no drop in the bucket for our producers. And it would be remiss of me not to mention our partnership with the animal agriculture industry. Animal agriculture is our #1 customer, and in New York, we know that means dairy. The dairy industry, as you will hear next from Johanna Bossert, continues to also be negatively impacted, and when dairy hurts, we hurt. We do give a friendly nod to the administration in their recent attempts to compensate farmers in the short term for the financial consequences incurred by the trade war. But we also want to make very clear that what we want is trade, not aid. We heartily support the strengthening of existing trading partnerships and the exploration and securing of new trade agreements. Our farmers are reliable, they are resilient, and they are responsible. They're ingenuitive and they are innovative in producing an excellent product for consumers, both stateside and abroad, amid a myriad of unpredictable challenges, including the weather and ever-changing consumer demand. As steadfast patriots, we look to our government to mirror those efforts, to recognize that our growers already operate in an environment of uncertainty, and sincerely hope that this administration will facilitate opening the doorway to global opportunities in a constructive way that is good for both our country, its citizens, and its farmers. Thank you. And I will now bring up Johanna Fox-Saucer. Good morning. My name is Johanna Bozzard. I am an agricultural education teacher, FFA advisor, proud dairy farmer at Farmland Dairy located in Fabius, New York, and Madison County Farm Bureau Pro-Education Chair. Our family farm has 1,900 dairy cows, 1,500 heifers, and works about 4,500 acres of land. We employ 40 individuals with a weekly payroll of about $30,000 a week. That's a $1.5 million annual investment in our rural upstate economy alone. Our family farm is considered to be a large farm for the state of New York, and we are proud that our daughters will be the 5th generation dairy farmers in our family. The milk from our farm is sold to Chobani Foods to be processed into yogurt, to Gorelick Farms to be produced as fluid milk, and to Kraft Heinz to be produced into cottage cheese and sour cream. Through investment and cooperation with Mexico, the U.S. has succeeded in becoming that country's largest foreign dairy supplier, with dairy purchases last year alone totaling nearly $1.3 billion. Today, Mexico accounts for approximately a quarter of foreign demand for American dairy products and is our most reliable trading partner. Yet, since the end of May, following Mexico's announcement of a 25% retaliatory tariff on U.S. cheeses, the price we receive for our milk has dropped by 14%. To put that into realistic terms, for our dairy farm alone, that's a loss of $3,000 every single day. Tariffs are crippling for dairy farmers and hurt the local economy too. Just last year, our dairy cooperative was shut out of the Canadian milk market. Our co-op and dairy farmers across America have lost millions of dollars in business. While we need to negotiate opening the market back up, tariff wars are seeming to close more doors for us. We did get some good news this week that the United States and Mexico have reached a deal in principle on NAFTA, but it isn't a done deal yet, and we need Canada at the table. We need to get ag markets back to where they were before the tariffs and trade wars ever began. On our farm, the lack of rebounding milk prices this summer forced us to make changes in our planned investment projects for this year. One example of this includes the decision not to purchase manure handling equipment and additional manure storage that we had budgeted for the 2018 year. These projects were planned to increase our farm's environmental sustainability. They will help improve soil fertility and maximize nutrient utilization by our crops. Our story is no different than many of our fellow dairy farming friends across New York State. The crippling effect that these tariffs are having on the American farmer is nothing short of devastating. Dairy and milk production accounts for nearly 26,000 jobs in New York State. And although that number may seem large to you, New York has lost approximately 1,000 dairy farms, or nearly 20% of our dairies since 2012. Not only does this have a direct economic impact, it also has a huge impact on our local jobs market too. According to a recent Cornell University study, for every one on-farm job, this supports 2 additional off-farm jobs as well. So think of your plumbers, your delivery drivers, our carpenters, and equipment salesmen. With that being said, our 40 employees translates to 120 supported jobs in our rural economy. And that is something that Barbland Dairy is extremely proud of. You can see how this would have a devastating effect on our local employment rates if the pace of lost dairy farms continues at a staggering rate. And farm families like mine are forced to lay off our employees, or worse yet, have to sell our cows. At a time when dairy farmers are struggling with 4-year low milk prices, we do not need to be closing trading opportunities. We need to be opening and expanding them. U.S. dairies have worked really hard over the last 5 years to increase and expand our exports markets. Now, with the threat of losing market access virtually overnight, it will likely be harder to get those markets back and will not happen nearly as quickly as we lose them. Farm families like mine and our dairy farming friends across New York State are asking for your support in a quick end to the trade war affecting families' livelihoods like mine and our country's backbone, the American farmer. I'd like to call John Martini to the podium.
Thank you, Joanna. My name is John Martini, and our family owns Anthony Road Wine Company and Martini Vineyards, and as I like to tell my friends in the industry, we're in the fabulous Finger Lakes. And the fabulous Finger Lakes are not just wine and grapes, they're also dairy, row crops, etc. So all these things affect my neighbors. In our situation, we are trying to grow our business outside of the state, and if it hasn't happened yet, but because of large exports to China, Canada, by our friends out in California, and I do have a lot of friends out in California. In fact, one of my brothers owns a winery out there, who knew? But if those markets dry up or get more difficult, all that wine will try to go through us, and that will hurt us. We have an operation with partners in Europe where we have a distribution warehouse there. We ship our wines along with other wines from New York State in containers to try to keep the price down. Again, if the tariffs start to affect the wine industry, we're going to be in a deeper hole there than we are currently, which is due to the stronger dollar. Another factor that happens to us, and David mentioned it, we buy stainless steel things, tanks, conveyors, and the day in April when the word tariff was mentioned by, what's his name, I keep forgetting, on Monday the stainless supplier went into our manufacturer and said the price of stainless just went up 15%. We had a quote from them to retrofit some tanks. It was about $3,600. We figured that would be good for a while. Well, they changed it. It became $5,000 to retrofit the tanks. So it's affecting us, in both areas, both in the equipment that we need to purchase and the potential market harm. So next I'm going to introduce Dwayne Hill. He's got another liquid that I kind of enjoy, and the product that it produces, some maple syrup.
Hi, my name is Dwayne Hill, and I'm a maple producer from Central New York, and I'm also a maple equipment dealer as well. So New York maple producers are concerned about the trade from two fronts. The tariffs in both Asia and Canada mean a potential of lost markets for our products, and companies are going elsewhere and seeking cheaper Canadian syrup to fulfill their needs. As far as equipment goes, there's a 20 to 25% tariff on all stainless items that our company uses to build evaporators and finishers and all kinds of stuff that we need to produce maple syrup. Therefore, again, they're going to be seeking Canadian companies to purchase this equipment, which is made of lesser quality stainless steel, and also doesn't last as long as the stuff that we're selling that's made here in America. We need a fix now before the ever long-lasting repercussions on the New York's maple industry. And next I will introduce Angela Hoffman.
And before I speak, I'm going to give just a couple minutes started.
Good morning. I'm Assemblywoman Carrie Warner. I represent the 113th Assembly District, which is parts of Saratoga and Washington County. And on behalf of the 1,450 farm families that I represent, I'm here to join my voice with the Farm Bureau, with the Commissioner of Ag and Markets, and with the farmers that are here arrayed, to ask that our representatives in Washington get to the table as quickly as possible and bring back our trading partners. These tariffs are having a dramatic impact on the income of our farm families. They are pushing farmers out of business, and that ultimately impacts our upstate economy and our food supply, not just in New York State, but throughout the country. It's a pleasure to be here. I wish we were here to talk about something happier, but this is clearly the issue of our time, and one that we need to be engaged, and we need all of our elected officials to be engaged on this issue. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Angela Hoffman, and I'm the Deputy Director of Farmers for Free Trade. Farmers for Free Trade is a bipartisan nonprofit organization. We're national, and we've been working with farmers and ranchers across the country. It is a great pleasure to be here in New York today, and thank you, Commissioner, for being here, and thank you for welcoming Farmers for Free Trade to help share the voices of the producers who are here today. Our mission is to enable and empower and activate farmers and ranchers across the country to tell their story about the importance of trade to their farm, their communities, to their family, but also to engage them to be part of the process. These trade agreements right now are in active negotiation. This is an opportunity for farmers and ranchers and ag manufacturers to stand up and tell their story about what markets they want to open, how important it is for export markets. You know, a fun fact, we actually enjoy a net trade surplus in agriculture, a $20 billion trade surplus. So trade matters across the country. Trade matters to the communities. Trade matters clearly to the state of New York. But we also know that we're in a time right now where we're challenged by new tariffs. Tariffs that are hurting the heartland, tariffs that are hurting the cost of equipment, tariffs that are retaliatory, that are blocking our exports to our key markets such as China, Canada, and Mexico. And we come at a time where there's a lot of uncertainty. So as we're working together today, we very much appreciate the support of and the voices of and the stories that are coming from those farmers and ranchers to stress how important deals such as NAFTA are to wrap up quickly and successfully, including our colleagues in Canada, to resolve some of the disputes with our trading partners, and to, most importantly, resolve the issues using tariffs that are having a powerful impact to our farmers and ranchers. So today, we have one thing we've been doing across the country, and we're going to lend voices today to the thousands and thousands of producers who have signed their name in support. So behind me, I have a banner, and these banners have been, in fact, Mr. Martini was with me in Washington, D.C. recently, where we've been taking these banners to Washington, to members of Congress, where people are signing up, sending their names, and sharing their stories. So I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to give them a mark, and we're going to give a chance to sign.
Last call for you Guernsey and Ayrshire exhibitors, if you were not entered in open and would like to be in the open show. If you were top 3 with blue ribbons, last call.
I'd like to thank everyone for attending. If there I don't know if anybody has any quick questions. Go ahead.
I came to meet with Kerry on the Jobs Act. My company is also part of the General Solicitation Jobs Act, 506C. But more importantly, on two things with New York, I think one thing is during this hiccup of the trade wars, I think money needs to be injected to promote New Yorkers to buy more product as well. I think there could be a lot more sales from New York consumers than there are now, possibly. And number two is other ways for agricultural farm products and farmers and private entities to raise money in the private sector, which is part of the 506C Jobs Act. I'm sure Carolyn knows more about as well.
That's a great comment. A couple of things. We obviously in New York can't change the value of our dollar overseas against foreign currency. We can have a limited amount of impact on trade negotiations going on. We're not at that table. But we can do something here in New York State. You're quite right. We've done a couple of things, actually. We've pulled together, with regards to dairy in particular, the Milk Marketing Advisory Committee, which consists of our processors, our farmers, our dairies, Cornell University, and even consumers. To look at the situation, to bring in their economists, analyze it on a daily basis. We meet 4 or 5 times a year to discuss what can be done, what role New York State itself can play in this. We can have meetings with our counterparts in Mexico and Canada. I'll be traveling for the Tri-National Board again this year to meet with the commissioners from their provinces and their states as well as ours. We can also look at marketing, as you mentioned. We put together in New York State a brand for New York called New York Grown Certified, where we've worked very hard to get consumers elevated above in their awareness of what we produce in New York State, to connect the dots between what is arguably one of the best growing environments in the country, along with what's clearly the most amazing and diverse marketplace anywhere in the world. We're having great stride. Dairy is a big part of that, as are our fruit, fresh produce people, as are our Christmas tree growers, as are our greenhouse growers. So it's our brand for all our agricultural products. So we can't sit by and wait for this to get fixed. We need to stand tall, as these folks are doing today, and we need to be active in every way that we can. So, great thing.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I think Richard's very modest in his efforts. He's done tremendous things in trying to build bridges locally in New York between the farm economy and the consumers in the city.
Dan, Logan,
He's done a great job of
Superintendent's
that.
Office.
Very hard,
Dan,
very passionate
Logan,
about that. So those
Superintendent's
things
Office.
do help and make a difference.
Thank you.
There's nothing else. I want to thank the farmers for coming today, Commissioner Ball, Assemblywoman Warner, for being here and supporting us. I think it's obvious that farm economy is in stress time, but I think there should be also great optimism. We have great youth. We have FFA, 4-H, our land grant institution, Cornell, other Morrisville, Cobleskill, and we have a lot of young people that are finding very creative ways to get into agriculture, develop and grow a business, and I think it's going to be good in the long run once we get through this down cycle. So, thank you.